All right, welcome back, everyone, to the 21st Century Man podcast. Today, we are going deep, really deep, into something truly fundamental it's fundamental for everyone, but especially, I think, for men. And that's building a good, strong relationship with your doctor.
You got it?
We're focusing, of course, as always, on the 21st Century Man, the book. This time it's chapter 4. And our goal today, as with all our deep dives, is to really extract the most valuable insights and, of course, give you some really, really useful, actionable advice.
Absolutely. I think what this chapter really underscores is that having that solid connection with your medical provider, whether it's a doctor, a nurse practitioner, whoever your primary care clinician is absolutely crucial when it comes to preventing illness and, frankly, preventing premature death.
Yeah.
And it's especially important, I think, when we're thinking about men, because statistically, men tend to avoid going to the doctor.
It's true. The book actually shares some pretty striking numbers that really bring this point home. For example, it highlights that men are half as likely as women to go in for those routine checkups.
Right.
And get this, over 7 million men in America haven't seen a doctor in over a decade.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge number.
It's a lot of people.
So it really does beg the question, why?
It does. Why is that?
Why is that? Yeah.
And thankfully, the chapter does go into that and explore some of the possible reasons behind this reluctance, I guess you could call it.
Sure. Yeah. It touches on how, there's a lot of societal expectations that can sometimes discourage men from expressing vulnerability or even acknowledging sometimes, that they're having some health issues. There's this sort of ingrained pressure to be tough, to be stoic,
Right.
Don't complain.
And especially, I think, when you're younger, there's that sense of invincibility.
Of course. You're young.
Yeah.
You're healthy.
Yeah, you think, oh, I'll worry about that later. I'm young. Nothing can touch me.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And, as we move through life, I think those reasons kind of evolve a bit. So, as you get into your 30s, the book suggests that you're dealing with so many other demands with work, with family.
Yeah.
And, it's so easy to just kind of push off making a doctor's appointment because you feel like you're already juggling so many things.
Yeah, that to-do list is already overflowing, right?
It is. It is.
And then by the time, men reach their 40s, there might be anxieties that start to surface.
Sure.
Maybe a little fear about what a diagnosis could reveal. Or even just, apprehension about certain, screenings and procedures.
Right. There's definitely a fear factor that can come into play there. But here's the thing, and this is what I think is really interesting and frankly concerning about all of this. While, that whole mentality of tough it out, push through it might seem advantageous, in some social situations, it can have some really negative consequences for your health.
It's true.
The book actually pointed to this study, and I thought this was a really wild statistic. 2/3 of men said that they wouldn't even seek medical help if they were experiencing chest pain or shortness of breath.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, those are classic signs, early warning signs of a potential heart attack.
Right. And I think what's so important to understand, and what the chapter does a really good job of highlighting, is that, a lot of these, really serious illnesses, things like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, these are things that, they can often be treated really effectively.
Absolutely.
And in some cases, even cured, but only if they're caught early.
Exactly. Early detection is key. That's why it's so important to be proactive about your health and to have that relationship with the doctor who you can go to for regular checkups and screenings.
So the book actually offers some pretty direct advice here, and it basically says, if you can't remember the last time you had a full physical, a comprehensive physical exam, get on that.
Make that appointment.
Make that appointment right now. And I love the analogy that it uses because it's so relatable. Most men, I know I do, we wouldn't let our car go 10 years without an oil change, right? We take pride in maintaining our vehicles. So why wouldn't we treat our own bodies with at least the same level of care?
Exactly. It's about preventative maintenance.
Yeah.
You wouldn't wait until your car breaks down completely to take it to the mechanic, so why wait until your body is really struggling to see a doctor?
Right. And the chapter really emphasizes that even if you're feeling great right now, like on top of the world, it's still important to establish that relationship with a doctor.
Absolutely.
It's about creating that baseline of care before anything serious comes up, so that you have a healthcare partner who knows your typical health status and can help you identify potential problems early on.
Exactly. It's all about being proactive.
So the book then moves into kind of the practicalities of finding the right medical provider for you. And it acknowledges that, things like insurance coverage and costs, these can be real limitations for a lot of people.
Mm.
But it really encourages you to try to, prioritize starting and maintaining a long-term relationship with a good doctor.
Right. And for those who do have health insurance, it offers some concrete suggestions.
Mhm.
Like, first of all, check your insurance plan's list of preferred providers. Those are the doctors who are in your network.
Right.
And you're going to have lower out-of-pocket costs if you see them. It also encourages you to, tap into your own personal network, ask your friends, your colleagues, who do they see? Who have they had good experiences with?
Word of mouth is always good, right?
Absolutely. And, I thought this was a really insightful point that the book made about the type of doctor to consider. A general practitioner or
Hmm.
GP is
Yep.
often the good choice for people who are in generally good health.
Yeah.
But the chapter kind of raises the question, if you have a specific ongoing health condition, it might actually be more beneficial for you to have a specialist in that area serve as your primary care doctor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people probably don't even consider that.
Yeah, it's a nuanced point. And the book also, it really empowers you to make an informed decision. It explicitly says, interview potential doctors.
Really?
Yeah, just like you would if you're, choosing any other important service provider.
That's a good point. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's your health. And so to help with that, it actually gives you a resource. It tells you, hey, you can reach out to the American Board of Medical Specialties.
Okay.
And that's at 1-866-275-2267. Or you can visit their website, www.abms.org, and you can use that to verify a doctor's credentials and BOIF certification.
That's a fantastic tip.
Absolutely. I mean, you want to make sure that you're choosing a qualified professional.
Right, someone who's actually, an expert in their field.
Exactly. Now, the chapter also, it doesn't forget about people who don't have health insurance, which, is a really important point to make because, access to healthcare is a huge issue.
Absolutely.
So it directs people to explore resources like free or low-cost healthcare clinics, prescription drug assistance programs. It even mentions a specific website, www.goodrx.com.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that one's great for finding discounts on medication. And it also points to another website, www.healthclinicsonline.com. And that one has information about a variety of different programs, including Medicare and Medicaid, even opportunities to participate in clinical trials.
That's really good to know that those resources are out there.
Yeah,
So, once you've found a healthcare provider and connected with them, the chapter kind of shifts its focus to the nature of that relationship itself.
right.
And it really emphasizes that it should be seen as a partnership,
Absolutely.
a true partnership where both you and your doctor have active roles to play. It's not just about showing up and letting the doctor tell you what to do.
Exactly. It's a two-way street. You're both working together towards the same goal, which is your good health. And, the chapter very clearly outlines your responsibilities as the patient in this partnership.
Okay.
And, this includes paying attention to your body, being aware of any changes that you notice. Your body is constantly giving you signals, and it's important to pay attention to those signals.
It's true.
It also talks about understanding your family's medical history because that can provide some really important clues about potential genetic predispositions to certain conditions.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. And then crucially, this is really key, being honest and complete when you're answering your doctor's questions.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the book really stresses that transparency is absolutely essential for accurate diagnosis and treatment. You can't really afford to omit information or downplay symptoms.
Oh, you really can't.
It's got to be a relationship of trust and honesty.
Right.
And, on the other side of that coin, the doctor also has responsibilities.
Of course.
And according to this chapter, their role is to take all the information that you provide, combine that with their medical expertise, and use that to help you stay healthy when you're well and guide you back to wellness when you're not.
It's about applying that knowledge to your specific situation.
Exact.
Now, your responsibilities as a patient, they extend beyond just providing information.
Right.
The chapter also highlights the importance of actually following your doctor's recommendations. And that includes, making those lifestyle changes that they might suggest, adhering to prescribed medication regimens, taking your medications exactly as directed is so important.
Absolutely.
Attending any follow-up appointments that they recommend and, if they think it's necessary, consulting with specialists specialists, it's really a dynamic exchange that requires active participation on your part.
It is. It's a team effort.
So the deep dive then goes into something that I think is really, really crucial, and that's how to actually improve your communication with your healthcare provider.
Hmm.
The book points out that even when men do make it to the doctor's office, they often don't ask enough questions.
Right. They might feel rushed, or they,
Mm.
they might not even know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
It can feel a bit like a transactional kind of exchange, like you're just there to get a prescription and then you're out.
Right.
But this chapter really encourages you to see it as a dialogue. And to help with that, it actually provides a really helpful list of broad questions that you can consider asking during a routine checkup. And some of these questions are things like, what is my risk of developing a cardiovascular condition? Getting specific about things like, what is my blood pressure? What are my cholesterol levels?
Okay.
Including both HDL and LDL, because, for those who are unfamiliar, HDL is often referred to as the good cholesterol.
Oh, right.
It helps remove other forms of cholesterol from your bloodstream,
Okay.
whereas LDL is often called the bad cholesterol,
Right.
because high levels of LDL can lead to a buildup of plaque in your arteries.
Mm,
So knowing those numbers and what they mean for you is really crucial.
that's good information.
Yeah, it's important to understand those basics. The list also suggests asking about your risk of developing diabetes, how much physical activity is recommended for you if you smoke, what are some effective strategies for quitting, and it talks about moderate alcohol consumption.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really comprehensive. And what I thought was particularly insightful was the suggestion to even ask about your current medications. The chapter says, consider asking your doctor, could any of the medications that I'm currently taking potentially increase my risk of cardiovascular problems?
That's a good question.
Yeah, because you really want to understand the potential interactions and side effects of all the different medications you're taking.
It's true. It's good to be aware of that.
Yeah.
So the conversation then moves on to a more serious topic
Mm-hmm.
and, a bit of a sensitive one, which is how to cope with receiving a diagnosis,
Right.
especially if it's a significant one. And the book offers some really practical advice here and some supportive advice. It suggests, for example, bringing a friend or a medical advocate with you to your appointments.
Mm.
For emotional support, but also to help you remember important details.
Absolutely. It can be really overwhelming when you're receiving a diagnosis,
Mm.
especially if it's something serious. So having someone there with you to take notes, to ask questions, to just be a supportive presence can be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And it also recommends that you might want to consider recording the doctor's responses.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah, either with your phone or an audio recorder, so that you can go back and listen to it later when you're maybe not feeling quite so overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's a really smart move. When you're in that moment, you're processing so much information and it's easy to forget things or to misinterpret what was said.
Right. And then it provides this really crucial list of key questions to ask if you do receive a diagnosis.
Okay.
These are really fundamental for getting clarity and understanding your situation. Things like, what exactly is my diagnosis? How serious is this condition?
Right.
What is believed to be the underlying cause?
Yeah.
And it also advises you to ask things like, what factors could potentially worsen my condition?
Hmm.
What are my treatment options? What are the benefits of the medications that are being prescribed? And then importantly, if you have other existing health conditions, how are these going to be managed in conjunction with this new diagnosis?
Right.
Right.
It's about getting a comprehensive understanding of your overall health picture.
Absolutely. So the next section of the chapter is called A Doctor's Perspective. And it's really interesting. It gives you these insider tips on how to make the most of your time during a doctor's appointment. And it comes directly from a physician.
Oh, wow.
And it starts by explaining the increasing pressures that doctors face today. Things like stagnant Medicare reimbursements, growing administrative burdens.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, these things contribute to shorter appointment times, often limited to just 15 minutes or less.
Wow.
So, just having that understanding of the constraints that your doctor's working under can help you be a more effective patient.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it helps to have some empathy for what they're going through. They're trying to provide the best possible care, but they're also dealing with a lot of external pressures.
Right, exactly. And so, with that in mind, the advice in this section becomes even more important. The chapter emphasizes that To make the most of that limited time, you really need to be focused and clear about the reason for your visit.
Okay.
When you're scheduling your appointment, be very specific about the symptoms you're experiencing and why you need to be seen.
Right. Don't just say, I don't feel well. Give them some specifics.
Right. And it's also a good idea to just confirm with the office staff beforehand whether they accept your insurance.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah, just a little detail, but it can save you a lot of headaches later on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And preparation is key, according to the doctor's perspective.
Okay.
So they recommend that patients be proactive about compiling and providing relevant medical information. So that means making notes about your current symptoms, when they started, how they feel, anything that seems to trigger them or alleviate them.
Okay.
And they also recommend preparing a written summary of your medical history, especially if you're a new patient.
Uh-huh.
The chapter even mentions a helpful form that you can use for this,
Yeah.
which is available at hive80.com.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And of course, they really emphasize honesty in disclosing all aspects of your health, including any past medical issues, surgeries, medications you're taking, allergies, your family's medical history, lifestyle habits, smoking, alcohol, drug use, all of it.
Right.
Because that information is essential for your doctor to provide the best possible care.
Yeah, absolutely.
They also recommend bringing any relevant past medical records and test results to the appointment.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, just have it all in one place. And then when you're describing your symptoms, the chapter advises being as detailed as possible.
Okay.
So tell them when they first appeared, how severe they are, on a scale of 1 to 10, whether any pain radiates to other parts of your body, how your symptoms are impacting your daily life, what seems to make them better or worse, any over-the-counter or home remedies that you've tried, and what the effects were. All that information can help your doctor narrow down the potential diagnosis.
Right, because they're like little clues,
Exactly.
pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah. And the advice about bringing a medical advocate with you is reiterated here as well.
Oh, right.
And, for good reason. Having a second pair of ears to listen and someone to take notes can be immensely helpful, especially when you're not feeling well or if you're anxious. The chapter even suggests that you could have a family member or a friend listen in remotely via phone or video call if they can't be there in person.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's a great way to involve your support system.
Right. And then this is so important. Never hesitate to ask for clarification if you don't understand something that your doctor says.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions.
No stupid questions.
Exactly. There are no stupid questions when it comes to your health.
Uh-huh.
So don't be embarrassed to ask your doctor to explain things in plain language or to elaborate on their recommendations.
Right. Make sure you understand what they're saying and why they're recommending what they're recommending.
Exactly. And then the chapter also talks about the importance of getting copies of your medical records after each visit.
Okay.
Keep track of your own health information. Always request copies of any test results. And they note that these are increasingly available in digital formats like PDFs, which makes them much easier to store and organize.
Yeah, that's true.
And, the message here is be an advocate for your own health. Keep track of your medical information. Don't rely on your doctor to keep track of everything for you.
Right, because they're busy, they have a lot of patients.
They do. And, part of that self-advocacy is actually asking your doctor to explain the results of any tests that they've ordered, requesting a copy of those results for your own records, and making sure you understand what the next steps are before you leave the appointment.
Okay.
So, is there any further testing needed? When can you expect to receive the results? What are the potential treatment options if a diagnosis is made? Write all that down so you can refer to it later.
That's good advice.
Yeah, it's all about being informed and taking an active role in your healthcare. And then when your doctor prescribes a new medication, they give you a list of questions that you should always ask.
Okay.
Things like, how and when should I take this medication? What are the potential side effects that I need to be aware of? How will I know if the medication is working effectively? What should I do if I accidentally miss a dose?
Okay.
It's also wise to ask if your doctor recommends any specific reading materials or websites where you can find more information about the medication. And always request written information about any new medication, as well as any procedures or tests that are being recommended.
That's really good advice.
It's all about being informed. Knowledge is power.
So the chapter then returns to the fundamental importance of being honest with your doctor and answering their questions completely. And it reiterates that, even seemingly minor details can be important. And then it offers this additional list of questions that you might want to consider asking your doctor. So things like, what lifestyle modifications do I need to make? Diet, physical activity. Will
Mhm.
my medical condition affect my ability to work, to be sexually active?
Right.
Are there any complementary therapies like seeing a nutritionist, an acupuncturist, or a chiropractor that might be beneficial in addition to my conventional medical treatment?
Mhm.
You can also ask about other lifestyle adjustments that could improve your symptoms. What are the most critical signs that your condition is worsening? What specific symptoms you should be monitoring? When you should call the doctor or the nurse on call? What symptoms would warrant a call to an ambulance or a visit to the emergency room?
Right.
And then finally, how often should you be monitoring your condition, getting screenings, having checkups, all those things?
Yeah, that's a really thorough list.
Yeah.
And it really covers all the bases.
Yeah. And then the chapter concludes with this really powerful reminder. Always, always ask questions if there's anything you don't understand. There is no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to your health.
Right. And asking questions can make a huge difference in your well-being and your health outcomes.
It's true. And then finally, the book gives you this really practical piece of advice. Find out the best way to contact your doctor or their office if you have any questions or experience any problems, whether it's during office hours or after hours. Is there a secure email address you can use? Is there a specific phone number you should call? Just having that information can provide a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, it's great to have that information readily available,
Yeah,
just in case.
exactly. So this has been a really insightful deep dive into chapter 4 of The 21st Century Man. It's amazing how much practical advice and actionable advice is packed into this one chapter.
It is. It's a really valuable resource.
Yeah, and it's all focused on empowering you to build a strong, effective relationship with your doctor.
Absolutely. It gives you the tools and the knowledge you need to take control of your health.
Yeah, we highly encourage you to read this chapter in its entirety.
Yes, definitely do that.
It's really worth it. It's got
Yeah.
so much valuable information.
And, one of the key takeaways, I think, from this chapter is that your relationship with your doctor should be seen as a partnership.
Right. It's not a one-way street.
Exactly. You both have responsibilities, and open and honest communication is essential for that partnership to be successful.
Absolutely. And that doctor's perspective section was so valuable.
It was. It really gives you a glimpse into the challenges that doctors face and how you can be a more effective patient.
Yeah, and it gives you those practical tips on how to make the most of your appointment time.
Exactly.
So we encourage you to take these insights to heart. Think about the questions that we've discussed today and consider your own relationship with your healthcare provider.
Yeah. Is it a true partnership? Are you communicating effectively? Are you getting the care that you need?
It's a good time to reflect. And this chapter of The 21st Century Man is a fantastic resource.
It is.
It's full of practical guidance,
Mhm.
and it has a really clear message, which is that your health is a priority,
Absolutely.
and a good doctor is an essential partner in helping you maintain it.
Couldn't agree more.
We highly recommend picking up this book and reading the full chapter for yourself.
Yeah, it's a must-read for any man who wants to take control of his health.
So join us next time on the 21st Century Man podcast as we move on to Chapter 5,
Chapter 5.
Strengthening Your Heart.
We're getting to the heart of the matter.
We look forward to exploring that very crucial aspect of men's health with you.
Absolutely. See you next time.